let's do something else while we're doing this because I don't want to be the only one. So there's a lot of I obviously talk a bit, and Adnan, Arsenal, and Ben. If you guys were going through this, if you guys have a better way of entering or of a way of entering, please don't hesitate to give input.
So for this one, my entry tactic, like when opening up below VWAP,
Mm.
said it's usually worth it to at least take a small stab uh, on like a push back towards VWAP. Like this one was not enough, but like the previous one, it
That's-
visibly, yeah, was like having trouble at that level, right?
Mm.
So you can risk, you can get in at like 3.5 and risk just under 4. I think that's how the best way to trade these ones kind of are. But then the previous one, if I remember correctly, it was pretty low volume right from the get-go. Was it? Is that a 1 minute or is that 5?
3 minutes.
Yeah, I've noticed like some of these stocks where like they have a decent gap and like they're kind of hanging on by a thread going into the open. If they have very little volume come off the gate, like typically it's just gonna be light volume for the rest of the day. So like you could kind of get in risking like a VWAP reclaim here as well.
Yeah.
Right, same sort of like, you'd have to risk less on this one because you ideally would want to short an extra like, another bullet of like, when if it does touch VWAP and start to look heavy there too. Yes.
That's crazy. Pre-market volume was 77 million. Interesting variable. I avoided SOAR. Obviously, in hindsight, it was wrong because I was like, yo, compared to the float, it was trading massive amount. But Ben, do you have any good entries for these two? Or is it the same as what we're discussing?
I don't have entries for them. The gap was a bit low on SOAR.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. And I was afraid it was going to push higher.
Yeah, the days before were really float was very little, 1.3 million. This is additionally why I was a little bit hesitant to. Actually, I had a starter at in the 370s, low 370s, but it never got there. 367 was the high on this push. A few minutes later, when it did this topping, it provided, yes, maybe also hindsight, but it provided if you go to the 1 minute chart, and I think Jason noted that in his screenshot, there was you could draw a trend line, yeah, like here, and then it broke down and under 325, I think, and then all the longs were bailing out possible entry on this.
So one of the other mental notes that I have made, I had a really good discussion yesterday with admin. I always am concerned about the amount of shares that it trades like the amount of what the float is to compare it to the volume. So in this case, obviously, I was wrong because like a 3 minute candle, it's like float rotating every 3 minute candle. Like float on this is like 1.3 million or something, and then it's like 1.5, 1.5. So I was just like, this is gonna just go, but apparently not. And taking a quick go back here summary with this. This here's China. This here's low cash dilution. And for me, because it was low volume, I actually like this to be really good. Because the volume is lower off the open, it's not super crazy. This one is a bit thing. KLTO. Anybody? This is a difficult one. Anybody got this one? And where would you have entered? I can start. Again, I think this is the same discussion that me and Adnan had yesterday.
Can you zoom out to see where the pre-market high is?
This was day 2
They took
after a big day 1 run. This stock came from 20 cents.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, these day too. When they hold up, they're really, really nice. KLTO, yeah, this the pre-market highs here. So me and Adnan, we discussed yesterday that a very good setup that I always loved is when it pushes off, enter, put a risk, and then below we go up. So this is where I would enter. And day 2, I'm making a mental note. This is day 2, and it's still up 1,500% if it came from 20 cents. And if you guys have any Ben, Arsenal, Adnan, any perspective?
My only comment on this one was that this one was a bit tougher because it cleared out the pre-market high a couple times before it finally said it's gonna drop. So I remember this one was tricky because it looked like it was done a couple times.
Mm, but realistically, it only kind of went below weave up once, right?
No, we're talking about like the pre-market clear out setup, right? One came back, two, and then the third time it finally did it.
Yeah.
But by that time it was pretty deviated.
Another mental note that I'm making is if a stock in 2 days is up like 1,000%, and I have this type of structure, we know that it's gonna have range below weave up, below open price. I think this is for sure a definitive setup that we need to have. Do you have any comments, Arsenal? Is Ben here? Ben, you're muted if you're talking. Arsenal? Arsenal, no. Arsenal. No problem. Will be effective with time. CGBS. This is a company that had really low cash. Oh, this is very small.
GBS was the oil and gas penny stock from Friday. Did a nice pre-market move. Faded all day. Faded into close. Yeah.
It's very small. 15 cents. Sunday recap. I mean, there's not much to it. Unless if you guys have... did you have anything on that, Martin?
I traded it, but I had a good entry at 1850. Covered at the open when it did this, this quick fast push from 14 to 18. It was put on a starter there. I covered it when it pulled back to VWAP at the open at 14. And I was hoping for one more bigger push to 18, back to 18, but yeah, didn't come and I didn't get back in then.
I think for me, I'm making another mental note that this one only had less than 1 month of cash. So obviously the same old company has low cash and whatnot, and it could, because they can always do pipe or some sort of offering. HSDT, and this is super difficult. This was a fighting play that JJ was doing. I think we should pay closer attention to what JJ says too, because JJ had anticipated, or he had a feeling that this was going to happen after hours. But I guess he said he'd get the date wrong. So this is difficult. This for me, I would have gotten stopped out. I always risk like the high of the day. I don't. Adnan, would you have shorted this here? If yes, out or what?
I did short that.
What's your risk?
Yeah,
2?
yeah, just under 2. Like it's an opening range failed breakout, right? So
Oh, here's my question: do you short at down here, or do you short like down here at the first push?
I'll have to check, but I believe I shorted probably right after the first push.
Yeah.
Because it's confirming weakness, right?
Okay, so the second, third candle on a 3-minute.
Let me just pull it
Go a
up.
little bit further right. I have the picture screenshot here. Around 173 or so.
Can you post it on Sunday recap, please? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a bit later.
Is it just you, like, even if you squeeze, you're just like, whatever? Like, this is part of your setup?
Yeah, like if it hits my stop, it hits my stop.
Okay, because this is sexy. Oh my god. That is so
number 2.
sexy. Yo, that is so sexy. Let me tag JJ. Be like, JJ, Jim, if you are no longer filing expert.
Bro, I didn't
I know.
I didn't know that they were piling.
Bro, this is the poor guy does so much research, and you're like, yo, I'm just gonna. Super nice. Okay.
Yeah, the hold was nice that you held into after hours because it gave you another 50 cent more.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, one comment I do want to make before I forget is like that sort of setup where there's like a weaker gap up pushing into VWAP has been working really, really well. Because it seems like it is a hot market, but like there's only one play that's really squeezing,
Yes.
right? And like everything else is not really pushing, right? So it's like it's pushing into like a VWAP level, and then it's kind of fading away, right? So like yeah, like the thing that me and Afghan kind of concluded was like, so as long as you kind of stay away from that one that squeezes, it can turn into a pretty decent day.
A question about this, Adnan. Like, one thing I saw, mashallah, is like you wait until the end. You're not trying to top deck here, because that personally would have been like But if there's so much consolidation here, you could take a risk. But is there anything that you see that just prevents you? Like you think, oh, this is going to be bullish because everybody here in the short is trapped. Like we could assume there in this 30-minute, there's some shorts in here, right? But how do you differentiate it, or you're just like, if a stop hits, or is there any red flags that you see? You should.
I mean,
I'm not gonna take this.
the thing is if you're taking like the technical setup a lot, right? Like there's the setups like this almost day in, day out, right? They might look a little bit different and they don't fade as much. But if you're kind of taking that setup day in, day out, I just know that it's gonna work more times than not, right? So I don't care if it stops me out at 2, right? Like it's not gonna make or break my day if it hits like if I get stopped on something like this.
Right. So there's no
Right,
other
so
variables other than just technical, just a chart print.
yeah, technicals just looking at range, relative weakness on the day. I mean, I did hear the guys talk about how this one had like dilution or whatnot. So, also a smaller confluence for me. But yeah, just the technical setup and the range. Like it was up 100%. It was stalling over its opening range, so just made sense.
And also for context, it was low in passion as well. So,
Yeah, like if you take enough of these setups, it doesn't really matter.
I agree with
'Cause
that's
it's
the
just
one thing
gonna
I
work out in
realized.
that one.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just like, if it's a loss, man, it's a loss. As long as you know your longer term, your net EV is good, because you're making 3 to 1, 4 to 1 on risk reward, or your accuracy is like 60, whatever. It's almost
Yeah.
like subconsciously you want to welcome the losses, because you just know it's like one less gone till the next winner comes in. Ben, you didn't take that, right? Did you? I don't know, Ben.
And even that setup before SOAR, go back to that one. Same concept almost, right? Opening range kind of fails to break out over VWAP and it never looks back and you can risk 10-15% wider stop.
But never at the first bit. Or if it pushes, you don't just have an order sitting here. You wait until price action confirms, right?
Typically, you can like I want to you should start a little bit once it does push, but then the highest quality ones always kind of show that they're failing to push at that level. So this one showed that like it went sideways around BWAP and it showed weakness, right?
Yeah, maybe this is longs accumulating. Because believe it or not, I would have, not in here, if this was like 10, 30, 11, I would historically actually probably would long it. Because thinking that okay, this makes a lot of sense why it has a bigger fade. Because longs get involved, I think. That's very cool. TRLRM, I don't know how to catch this one. Martin, did you get this one? Adnan? Any way to get this, or that's just difficult for me?
No, this one's tough. Yeah.
Okay, heck is this VTech? Oh, okay. One comment I'll make is, if a stock is a piece of poop, you always just let it be a piece of poop and don't give it a lot of shots. Especially on day one, there's some stocks that will like do this. Me personally, what I have learned over the years, just leave it alone till day 2, day 3. Like this is very difficult. Like if this comes and this comes back, because they sometimes do 2, 3, and then day after, last if it still has range left, what makes it really good.
This was a failed replication basically to KLTO. KLTO was running on Monday, Tuesday. VTech was, I think, on Wednesday. Similar price from where it was coming, similar float, and this was definitely long crowded.
Yeah.
To the afternoon, and once they noticed that this will not rip into close, when it broke down, I don't know, what was that, 65 or so, or 68 in the last 2 hours last year here somewhere, it just unwound, and all the longs who were loading up for after hours run got out. So this was a nice opportunity. I think Adnan had a nice trade on that, made 2 hours. Yeah.
Did I short this? I don't know if this is my setup.
Yeah, the key with this one was that it was failed replication.
I think I might have shorted this too, or I talked about it on voice. It is one of these stuff. I was surprised by. I didn't expect this last move. Okay, let's be effective with the time. I'm just gonna quickly zoom by, and then we want to look at stocks that had a lot of that like supposedly would have been losses, right? And then we also got to do gappers. So this stock here, KLTO, as we talked about the replication aspects, but this is the day one before it built the replication. So yeah, this goes up, hulls down, washes, and then reclaims. Goes sideways, makes it tough, and next day it blows people up. How do we avoid the long? So one thing about longs that I've noticed, I mean, it comes in waves, but like 80-90% of the times, it doesn't make a lower low. So if you somehow catch a long, like risk the previous low of the structure or the structure before. You guys have any 2 cents on this? I want to be effective with
Yeah, one warning sign on this was near the open when it traded already 10 times the float. I see here pre-market volume was 270 million. This is a warning sign, and then it did this push and a few minutes of weakness, which was a beautiful trap for shorts off the open.
Wait, float is 32 million.
I think this got raised past few days because they had some filings, but on Monday when it trended, it was below 30, I think.
Okay.
They added, I think, 4 million shares or so.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this was a big warning sign, and actually my biggest loss this week. I was fighting it a bit annoying, but something to learn from. Volume was just way too much for shorts, and it never gave any confirmation below. It made steady higher lows, didn't really break down and made a lower high, and no reason really to be short here.
Yeah, whole bone, but then it's crazy. Any other comments on it? How do we long it? Any other avoiding the loss? Ben, Arsenal, Adnan?
I guess I would long it, but I did lose money trying to short it, so I can't really say that it's gonna get better long it above VWAP. I guess.
No, but we got to talk about like why do we long? It's not just long. It's like what are the variables and can that be replicated? Have you seen it consistently?
Just sub pennies in general. I think when you're getting volume off the open and you're above VWAP, I think it's a good bet. Especially this one. I think it was a halt band stock, so like it just had tight halt bands. I think it's always good for a scalp when it comes, but obviously holding these things.
For me, halt band kicks in if yesterday it was like 65 cents and today it opens at like $1. I think that's the area that SEC filings or Securities Exchange Commissions, whatever, they overlook because that range makes it very disturbing. But in this range, I think halt band is not that 15 cents is not so much into play. But if it started skipping and then it dipped, I guess
That's the issue when it halts at 120 and indicates like 135, 140 type thing.
But the halt band is actually 15 cents, I think, within 5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Because I mean, you are right. The halt band thing is in here. But yesterday, it came from like 23 cents. So the odds that it moves 15 cents is not as crazy.
It didn't hold much because the float was big enough to not move, that fast 15 cents in 4 minutes.
But had the gap been
usually at that.
had the gap been into $1 or $1.25, that would have been very problematic because the spread is a minimum 1 cent, right? You can't have. So when you go above, it's like a small minor difference. I was thinking about it and researching it, and I'm being weird. There's another rule that it's like, so if it's below 99 cents, you can have 4 digits or whatever, like long extentage is, but above $1 is just $1. So you can have a 1-2 cent spread, and then the movement has to be 4-5 cents minimum on average. It just makes the whole bend much. Any other comments? Ben hasn't said anything. I don't know. Ben if passed away from being too muscular now. And then, do you have a way of longing this? Sorry, Martin.
Didn't Ben mention that he had to go in 20 minutes at the beginning? Something like this.
Yeah. Did tell me what was going on. And then, do you have a way of longing this? Or any way to avoid the short trend?
Did this one not have news or something? Like it was theme?
This
Like
was Monday, and it ignited this strong news about its biotech. They had news that they found a gene that silences some
increases lifespan or something. Yeah, but news I think it was bare BS news. It wasn't phase 3 or something. It was super BS. So we just chalk it up as a loss. I did short this actually, for the record, in here. I think this was a good setup. Obviously, in hindsight, I was wrong, but I think I will always take this type of setup. Same thing to what Adnan said. Failed breakouts and things like that. I think the cycle is shifting really, really fast, so we can't really put a lot of emphasis on cycles. But this stuff is very applicable. Like if you look at this, so you wait until it breaks the high, I guess you would get stopped out here. And I think I probably did, but I re-entered. So it goes above this high, and then it's looking weak, heavy, reject. You can risk the high, and then you can give it a second attempt. And then sometimes I cover into the reload. Yeah, so this just is chalked up as a loss. It's part of life. This one, I just dislike midday runners. I don't know, Adnan, if you're able to. Did you trade this? Did you get lost?
What ticker was this? I don't think I
OMH.
traded this one.
OMH on Monday.
230% push.
I'm not sure if I traded it or not, to be
Okay.
honest.
But no.
But yeah, there's no real setup there. That one's tricky for sure.
This one's your setup, LANM?
Yeah, high VWAP, go sideways.
Man, there was nothing. This here, my friend, CITR. Oh, CTXR. Oh, gap rally was low, thank God. Because I was like, this would have trapped me. Oh, this is a long. But the volume is really low, huh? So this is my long setup, as you guys know. Below EO for so long, and then this above Europe. But this is hindsight, because that's the volume came in after. Anybody took this? Anybody have? I don't know what to do with this, but yeah. The only thing sticks out is like this. Okay. Any comments? How do we avoid this loss? Yeah, I think I took a loss on this one. Jeez Louise. This in hindsight, then this would be the push off the setup play, right?
Similar with like KLTO, this hit. This was on Tuesday, so the day after KLTO. I think this was also a replication, and in this case, it worked out kind of because it ripped the shorts into close. It had huge volumes. If you look at the volume, 23 million float, 700 something traded. Not as much as KLTO, but still amount, and it didn't continue to break down after 2 and reclaimed VWAP. Then it was go time for the shorts to get out.
Yeah, this is where you could have stopped up. But do we just chalk this up as a loss, or is there a way to minimize the loss? I guess you could stop here.
This was maybe break even. Best case if you had a good entry, get stopped out break even.
But rather than commentary, what variables can we take a mental note of, so that moving into the next week we could be like, oh, we saw this on our recap, to avoid it. Like this to me looked like a good short, and I believe I was. It's like a 230% gapper. Adnan, do you have any thoughts on this? Did you take?
I think Martin's right. Like, it's a good setup, and like you could just trail it with a break-even stop. Like, there isn't any explicit variable that sticks out.
It depends where you enter. If you short into weakness below VWAP at, let's say, 1236, here, then your average is not that great, right? And you probably have maybe a stop above 85.
Yeah.
And then you have a loss, but it's a manageable loss. It's just another, normal trade. Nothing bad about it. If you get stopped out on time before it pushes 20 cents.
I was short actually down here, and I think I did add in here. Exactly, that's Giuseppe Martin. And my risk from here, I believe, was in here. 89, 39, something like that. I thought about cutting some here on the Viva Proclaim. The reason being is we talked about time-based. So if there's all this people stuck, it's the odds of them like making a liquidity event and breaking near the high, it's lower. So I actually cut all of it here, and then I went long. If it was above VWAP, it would have been problematic. But I think on the first pullback here, knowing that there's a lot of stops up here, and then I sold into that. And the crazy lunatic that I am, this is not a good thing, but I shorted here. That was I started shorting. So what variable commentary aside, what variable can I use so that it doesn't? This all indicates that if it flushed, So now I'm being a bit of hindsight. If it flushes the lows and it's reclaiming, that's like, okay, there's not enough longs in here or more shorts or something. Something's going on. So I'll make a mental note. If it makes a lower low and it's reclaiming, the basic 101, just put a break even stop like you guys said. That's my takeaway from that one. And this one, geez Louise. Oh, 20% gapper. Thank God. No. 13% gapper. Okay. We'll be time effective and we'll jump right into the other one. So this is 60% gapper. We'll do this quickly. No, sorry. We are to change this, right? We are on June. So we had 19 gappers. We'll look at the return. Very likely we just went over them. Yeah. BCNC, KLTO, the 10 a.m. push, CGBS. This one we said it was difficult, I think, or did we mention this? Oh yeah, you shorted 1850, yes. Yeah. Okay, now we look at this. Anything stands out? KLTO we talked about. This one we talked about. HUSA. Oh, HUSA. This is interesting. This one we didn't talk about. One sideways. Okay. Going into the next week. Okay, this brought up a point for me. I am gonna try to avoid oil names, by the way. Very, very good session. Very, very good session. Thoughts. There is also a background theme aspect. Basically, Israel bombed Iran's oil on this weekend. So very likely, I think Adnan, your HUSA is going to work out. So I think there will be a lot of oil names. Me personally, tomorrow, even if a stock is, that somebody new join. So tomorrow, hey bro. So tomorrow, even if oil name comes up, I am going to avoid that short, to be honest, because there's just going to be a sector theme. If anything, I'm going to look for a long. It's the same, I guess, same thing. No, we always start at 1:30, bro. You have Sunday recap, no? In here, we put a vote. Every Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. I think you're right. Somewhere here, the event, it's messed up. I got to learn how to change it. Maybe the date time in here is bad wrong. Okay, any thoughts on that, guys? Any thoughts on oil? Because I think that will be for sure a variable moving into. Maybe we can look at how they went long before we see anything. What was the other ticker? Martin, do you know? Do you remember the other ticker for oil or admin? It was huge.
I'm running.
NRBE, I think it was.
RPNE.
If this one
Actually,
pushes, this one's gonna be nasty.
This is a shipping ticker from Cyprus. 1 million float.
Well, I think the move was a fake move. I mean, I think it was just insiders buying up the close, and I kind of messed up because I logged in at the close, but it fell right before the close, so I think that was a sign that it wasn't gonna run after you froze. And if you compare it to KLTO, that that was insulting at highs right before the close, so that's where that one went. And so I was kind of thinking like it would do a more thought out move, but I was thinking, oh, this might run me after hours like KLTO. But I think the fact that it fell like about 15% in the last 15 minutes or so of the market hour, that was a sign that it wasn't going to run. I would bet that this thing probably going to die. I don't think that it's. I think the rigor would run out of it. Most likely.
So I was actually
They closed at $14, so they massively increased the shelf capacity, so they can now raise $5 million, and they need. I think they might use this for an offering in the coming days as well. But until then, it could still be volatile and trappy, especially if the oil sector continues to be in play.
I think one thing and one note that I want to make is that what I spoke about earlier, into 2 p.m. This used to happen a lot in 2020, 2021. This plays back. So where they have a float rotation happening and it makes a new high, fail, reject, you can short these and it gives you a very nice 5-to-1 risk reward. I had a tough conversation with somebody and my brain was not in the right place, and then I covered it down here because it washed and reclaimed. But I had a very good average and a very good risk of like 19, 50, 60, or 40, whatever it was. But going into Monday, I think if this reclaims, there's a lot of shorts in it. There's a lot of shorts in it. The best squeezes and biggest ones are the ones where there's an anticipation on off run. And yeah, if it offers, we get screwed. But 5 million for me personally, the 5 million offerable amount, if it comes in, it's only going to be a very low amount of shares. So going Monday, if this holds above 1163, I am going to definitely long this and HUSA.
One oil ticket that stuck out as relatively weak amongst all these small caps was USEGs. Reason for that is probably they had a higher float than all the others, and they also need cash. But yeah, in case this bounces back to 250 tomorrow, maybe in pre-market, this simply a nice candidate for a reshort.
So you don't think it's going to be a long? I guess either way, we'll have setups for this, but oil theme, I'm personally going to avoid.
But I read that Israel just bumped some oil storage, but not the oil infrastructure, because politically that's a little bit hot for them, because there are some other countries who would have some issues, wouldn't be able to export oil anymore unless it completely escalates. But I think the impact to the oil price will be limited the coming days. But we will see in a few hours when the futures open. We can, because the small caps, they still orient themselves on the oil price. And if the oil price doesn't go much higher anymore, I think this theme might also start fading in the coming days. Things calm down a bit.
I mean, if the war continues for 2 weeks or so, I think it would be problematic. One of the best setups back in the day was when these stocks were super fade and people are trained to short off the open and the pushes. Yeah, this is another name I'm gonna watch above 75 cents. Out of curiosity, we all can how I'm sure we all have different opinions. Do you guys think that you would would you short oil tomorrow, or is that just my thoughts?
I would like to long it. I was trying to long OP on Friday, but I got stopped out before the run. I have a chart. I got stopped out at 80 cents. It's a low float, I think. It's the lower float one out of all of them, and the lower priced.
Okay, lower priced. Does anybody have any counter thoughts or counter opinions that just maybe it's gonna be a good fader? That's okay to state so that we can just brainstorm different.
Depends how high they can go. I mean, they already faded, except OP. OP was the only one that closed strong. The rest, I think, they faded from their highs on Friday. But they can easily, especially if the oil price is strong, if the futures are strong, then tomorrow pre-market, they can easily push back maybe to try Friday's highs, and this might provide an opportunity, maybe, but more like a scalp counter trend trade, not going for a big fade.
I did a little study of KLPO and RBNE together to go. I share my
Alright,
screen.
cool.
To show you what I have. This is my own. You want to? I mean, I'm curious what you guys thought. But okay, you guys see my screen? Okay, cool. So let's start with KLPO. So this is the last 4 days. So it started out it's pretty much going straight up. Starting around 7 a.m. and then it consolidated the close. You can see that here. It was staying slowly at highs. It was at highs all the way from like about maybe like 12:30 all the way to 3 and 4. It kind of stares higher a little bit, but it stayed at highs a little over 150, and that led right here that you go much higher in the after hours. So it went up to like 225 in the after hours, almost 225. Came down a little bit, but then it spiked hard at now then the next day, okay, let's get to remember this stuff for the future. You see stock moving similar with like crazy volume. The next day it went up at 4 a.m. It spiked up, kind of pulled back a little bit, but then it made the highs at about 10 to 11 and made highs like over 350. And then at 11 a.m., that's when it dropped pretty hard. It started falling. And then on day 3, it fell even more, to like 115 to the close. Then day 4, it bounced back up a little bit. So day 4, it bounced to an Oriental, so a Thursday, which is you have to pay 3 times the bar rate, and the bar rate went up to 500%. So that might also maybe about a short cover. But then it gave back on day 5, they gave back all the before. Yeah. Now let's compare that to RB&E. Or anybody notice interesting about
No, I like how you structured it. This is very, very cool.
So yeah, let's take a look at see how RB&E is similar or different. Now RB&E no RB&E it started running at 6:30 a.m. on no news. So that's a sign that it's a scheme since oil was already up before. So it doesn't make any sense that it just starts running right there. Now, like why was it running earlier? So it started running from about and then it kept going up pretty much from then it consolidated from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So that consolidation suggests it's gonna reach the next item because it's stayed at that high level. And so it did. It made the next leg up at 9 a.m. Then it really started moving at 10 a.m. And then it kind of consolidated for a while again. And then it made the final highs, started moving up at like about 130, 120. It reached almost $20. So it around 19. But then it started fading hardcore at 3 p.m. And that's a sign that it was going to be weak in the outdrop. It started selling before. Look, compare that to KLTO. Look at how strong KLTO was. From 3 o'clock here into the close, it didn't dip at all. But this one really faded at 3. I think what happens is that allowed the shorts to get out. Basically, all the guys that shorted up here were able to cover their position. So, and then the people that shorted down here are probably already out. They probably already blew up here. So there wasn't enough shorts to really get that moving in the app draws. And so then it spiked down quickly. And it kept going down to like 1150 here. So I think it'll probably, you might have like one spike in the morning, maybe at either 9:30 or the pre-market. But I think overall it probably falls to like $5 or $6, I guess.
Yeah, I think one thing that by the way, beautiful. I love how you go through it step by step and you consolidate. That's just goes to show for anybody that doesn't know, Adnan has been trading for plus 10 years as well, probably longer. And I just love the fact that you're still putting this much energy and things like that. One thing that cool takeaway for me was the after hour play makes sense, even though it's low volume, because as you said, you mentioned that, but also I think everybody else is underwater, right? So all of the consolidation, everybody's below. So if it's gonna push, everybody that was long, they'll be like, "Thank God, help me get out." That I remember that one saying I learned earlier on. So like it has a weak close, pushes into after hours a little bit. Like if you can put your mouse on that, like 16.
That's actually not quite. That's not quite after hours. After hours is my area.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because I guess you could also. So there's this, I forgot the name. It's like called Elliott wave or something. The concept is the first bounce, like when short gets squeezed, the first dip happens, people buy, and when a big parabolic down happens, and it has range of the first bounce, it always I try to remember to always put on risk and not cover. So in that little pop, because everybody that's like bagged, it's gonna be like, oh thank God, because only like 10% of, or like a very small percent of the times it has a complete V bounce. A lot of the times when it's a very extended wash, it's gonna probably have a continued leg, and the clean edge comes from the first push. One question that I had, Adam, is like, how do you know that consolidation was gonna go higher? The first thing that you drew, that from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., it consolidated. What made you think, or is there a variable that it could have just gone down because there's so much room at the bottom, right? So is there a way to differentiate that?
I think sometimes like if it consolidates for too long, like if it's a bull flag, like this is a bull flag where it's like, but I just think at this point, like in the pre-market, see this wouldn't fall below 10, which is much higher than where it started. It started at like 350. It's got to be bullish. I mean, especially really early in the day, and yeah, I think that's gonna be free bullish. I mean, it'd be good to get study of this, but it's just the fact that it just wouldn't drop below 10, and there's like a lot of support on there is I think it's gonna have the next leg higher. And then you also have to think about too the fact that this one would easy to borrow. Like you fit on Cobra, like wedge brokers, it was free to booking. So that's another sign that like people are getting so big. It's so good up all these short sellers.
But look at that 930 price action. Doesn't that look like very top heavy and it's like gonna make a big wash? like that 930 candle makes a new high. Put your mouse a bit to the left. No, a bit to the right. Yeah, down here. Yeah, and then it breaks a new low. Isn't that like? I guess it's just business. It's just loss as a loss. Okay.
It didn't fall by much. I mean, it didn't go back to $10, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you could predict. I mean, it did go up about much time on what the 9 a.m. spike up, like it's consolidated, and then it went like 13, or was that 12.50, 13 from $10, and from there, yeah, you're right. It did it spiked, then it fell, and then at 10 a.m. it just was really strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. I think. I mean, in my opinion, I think it was a cold rig. I mean, it's full of steam. Like I think the insiders just flying up shares, and so then it's a side here. So they started selling at 3 p.m. There's a center not going to run it in the after hour. Whereas compare that to KLTO, which is also a steam, which with insiders find. That one, I mean, maybe insiders flying up to float. That one did fall at 3 p.m. That stake was the high. So that means it's gonna go higher in the after hours, and perhaps even higher if you are next. So that's, to me, that's a big difference. I mean, because this stayed high at 3 p.m. This one faded at 3 p.m. So that's the sign whether it'll go great.
Yeah, good observation.
Anything else you want to share?
That's about all I believe right now. I used to go retro because they're both fully unnatural moves in my thing. It's total like float buy up, so that's why I like to kind of compare.
But share this more often. Next Sunday, you come. For me, this was very valuable. If you guys made it so far, that means you liked it. Click subscribe. Let us know what we could do better. Take care. Thank you.